name is April, and in this video we're going to focus on foam rolling, i.e. myofascial release techniques. So, foam roller is one thing you'll need, and you'll also need some kind of towel, or if you happen to have a yoga strap, we need something that does not stretch. So as we work down to IT band, we can't cheat. So let's jump right in. My favorite thing to start with is back, so that we can release all of that tension. And we'll start out with thoracic spine. So your thoracic starts right under your ribs. We'll roll all the way up to the tops of our shoulders. You're going to take your foam roller behind you. We're going to scooch everything forward. You want to lie back, lining your roller up with the bottom of your ribs. Walk your feet way farther than you think you need to. And here's the important part. Let your head rest in your hands. We're supporting that neck. Now, up go the hips and up and down we go. So you see why you need your feet a lot further so that we can travel higher up onto the back. This is delightful. I love this one so much. Now, you don't have to go fast. You can hang out. You can go nice and slow. Feel free to just keep with this up and down motion. One of the things I found out that I really like is if you crunch to one side or the other, kind of imitating that Pilates C curve and going up and down that way. You can switch around, hang out. If you are a brave soul, you can do little twists, but watch out, ribs are always a little more squishy than we give them credit for. So you want to take your time, and you'll notice, yeah, I am scooting up. That is the nature of that foam roller. Squish, squish. So we're coming up and down. Just take your time. You want to make sure that you are supporting your head. We don't want to create tension in one place and try to relieve it somewhere else. By the way, if you want to pause this video at any point so you can take longer, feel free. Since I'm running a tutorial, I'm not going to stay necessarily as long as I would if I were teaching an entire class on this. But we'll hang here for a little while longer. So next part, go ahead and lower your hips, coming on up. This next one is going to tire out your glutes, going to work your core, going to work your legs. It's a little bit of work so we can get up onto these traps, the trapezius, these big muscles on the tops of the shoulders that get tired from crunching up, get tired from overhead presses, things like that. So I'm going to turn slightly at an angle so you can kind of see what's happening. We will angle the foam roller right, left, your choice. I'm going to place it a little on the highish side, so I'm almost up to my armpit here. My hands, I'm just going to help with balance. Again, your feet, this time we're going to bring feet a little bit closer because when we lift hips, we want to bring them up higher. So I'm going to scooch my whole body. I'm working on the right side very first, so I walk that left shoulder up. Scooch that right shoulder down. Here's the fun part. You gotta let your head relax. You gotta lift your hips, and then we've got this weirdo turn. So if you're practicing along with this, you're probably thinking, April, this is awkward. Yes, it is. But as you get a little more proficient in lifting those hips, you want to soften down into that side you're working on. Now I have very little activation along the back of my neck. I'm just keeping my cervical spine, that neck, in as straight a line as I can. I'm not going to do a whole lot of movement here because as we try to shimmy around, you'll inevitably squeeze up into those shoulders. And you can just stay here. Also, if you want to hang out on this trapezius side for a while, you can stack something up under your hips. I don't necessarily recommend like putting your bum on the couch and then coming down here, simply because I am like a disaster on 2 feet and I would probably fall, which means maybe somebody else would as well. So I'm just going to hang here for a little while. This would be a good place to pause if you'd like. Again, I'm just doing a tutorial, so I'm only going to do one side. But this is the good side for me to do. Nice. So coming back, we're going to go ahead and lower hips. I always untuck that bottom shoulder, and nice and slow, we're going to round ourselves up off of the roller. So, just as in yin, give yourself time to come back to that, okay, everything's back kind of along the center of wherever you're starting. So we've done thoracic, we've done traps. The next place I think is a logical move, fronts of the shoulders, and then we'll move down arms all the way to wrists. So front of the shoulder, here again, kind of an awkward one. You are going to take your foam roller off to an angle. Now do be careful. In the front of the shoulder here we have that itty little piece called the rotator cuff. If you have had any pain, discomfort, so pain is that sharp, pinpointed, awful discomfort, broad, dull, achy, you can deal with it. And please, please, if you have had rotator cuff surgery, fast forward. This is not for you. Okay, front of the shoulder. I'm going to come all the way down onto my tummy. I'm going to take my foam roller at a slight angle on the side I'm working with. So this is my left. And I'm going to bring my arm behind, and my palm is facing up. Let's see here. Ha-ha. So here's this. I've got my right forearm underneath supporting. This might be exactly what you need. We're looking for that kind of release of tension, that, oh, that's really good kind of thing. Feel free, as long as there's no pain, sharp, pinpointed, awful, you can lean into it. You can kind of scoosh like a little inchworm back and forth. But we want this, since I'm working on the left, my left palm is facing up while resting that left arm. Try not to get any kind of activation. Again, no tension one place while we're relieving it in another. So, pause if you like. I'm only going to do the one side. Coming back up, the other thing I forgot to mention, and those of you who have had these surgeries, you already know this, but if you've had any kind of breast surgery, enlargements, reductions, any kind of breast cancer removal, lymph, please don't worry about this whole area. Keep yourselves safe, right? All right, so we've worked onto shoulders, we've gotten into those traps. We're going to work on triceps. So, triceps are a little tricky because most people may or may not roll them, but we're going to work from elbow all the way into the armpit. So again, if you've had these surgeries, you can either skip this entirely or maybe just go part way. So this one, I love describing this as a super sexy way to get into it. I'm going to work into my right arm. So I'm going to lay my right arm down. I'm relaxing. This left arm's just kind of hanging out. I am Cleopatra on her divan, and I'm rolling up and down. This might feel very strange. You might feel little pinches here and there. You gotta really think, is this skin I'm feeling pinching, or is this down deep into my muscle that is unhappy with me? You gotta take a moment, and either way, if it's just horrible, fast forward. Once you've worked along that kind of front line of your tricep, I know it's not the front, but there we go. You can start then to extend into your arm and kind of find these rotations moving out towards an external. So I'm turning my thumb way as far out as it will go. Oh, that's different, all right. Any kind of internal rotation where you can get kind of all around. And yeah, my arm's freaky, so if yours is not doing what mine, you should probably be glad. So again, I'm doing that one side. Once you have finished up both arms, and remember, you can take a little bit longer on one side than the other. We just don't want to overdo it. We're going to move down to forearms. Now, I do not have my fitness watch on. I do have a little friendship bracelet, but we don't want any of these bumps, like speed bumps happening. So forearms, you can go all the way, I don't know, just above that bendy part of your wrist. These little carpals get angry kind of fast. So I've got my legs wideish because I can, whatever shape of legs works for you. You're going to end up leaning really far forward and back and forth. So it does not matter the order you start. You can start with your palms up, working through. It's all right if you roll over your elbows. They're pretty sturdy joints. So you can come here. You can start this internal rotation. If you want to work one at a time, this is a good idea. You can even take that other hand and slightly press down. I don't know if you can see, but as I'm rolling, as I'm getting higher up to the wrist, my fingers are naturally curling. I'm not doing that. So here I'm extending, and they're just naturally curling. That's cool. That's a good thing. It means you're getting down to muscle, down into those nerves just a little bit. It's all right. Remember, no pain, sharp pinpointed awful, discomfort, broad, dull, achy. That's all right. So take your time. Cool. Once you have finished these forearms, we're going to come back to the upper back a little bit, just in case we've created a little bit of tension, and we'll move lower from there. So this time, I want you to turn to your side. We're going to take foam roller behind us, sticking straight back. What we want is when we lie back onto the roller, we're supported from right above your butt crack up to maybe the middle of your head, that bump, that occiput. So, my foam roller is on the shortish side. If yours is as well, please choose to support your head. Do not let your bum drop down. This is a huge back bend, and it's a whole lot of pressure on that lower back curve. You don't want that. You do want to lift your hips. You can always pad up those hips with a block or a small dog that wants to join. I like my arms way out to the sides. Any other shape that works for you. And just hang. You can even find these little wobbles from side to side. Take your time, pause if you like. Groovy. So we're going to roll to one side or the other. Use that forearm to help push yourself up and up to seated. So foam roller, we're now going to lie back and place it under sacrum. Your sacrum is this kind of diamond-shaped plate that's made up of several little plates that shimmy and shake as we move through life. And so what we'll be doing next is called resetting the sacrum, helping everything settle back into a neutral shape. So here's the process we'll take. I want you to bend your knees with the bottoms of your feet down, and we'll place foam roller under knees. Rolling back onto backs, pin that foam roller to your tushy with your heels. We're going to reach down, lifting hips. We're going to roll that roller right under sacrum. So here is sacrum. Here is low back. No, horrible. Here's the middle of your bum. That's not going to work because slippage. So you want to find the sacrum, that flat, bony part. You want to keep your gaze up. We don't want to turn heads. And then arms are going to come out to the side just so we have a little support. If you start feeling this low belly kind of sinking down, it's okay. You are safe. So from here, I want you to just lift your knees and let your feet dangle. Try not to round into your back. Your knees are going to stay pretty much over your hips. And we're just letting feet hang out, getting a little extra downward pressure. I'm just hang here for a moment. We'll do all of this together. From here, if you cross your feet like I do, I'll just uncross. We're going to keep our knees bent, and let's drop those knees to the right 45-ish degrees. We want to be kind of that most dense part of those glutes. So you're going to feel downward pressure on, we're dropping it to the right here. If you need more of that downward pressure, the leg on the bottom is going to extend. If that's horrible, just bend it again and breathe. Bending that knee, if you extended the leg, we're coming back to center. Let's just hang here for a moment, realigning up. I tend to shimmy. I don't know about you. And we'll take the same process to the left. We're dropping the knees about 45, and my knees are not separating. I'm definitely keeping my legs together. So if you need more of that downward pressure, it's the leg on the bottom that's going to extend. Now my door is in the way, but I like to keep my knees bent anyway. Feel free to extend that bottom leg if you want. Both knees are bent as we draw everything back to center. Now my foam roller has slipped, so my very fancy switch. We want it on underneath that bony plate the whole time. So from here, I'm using my arms for support. I'm just going to stick my feet straight up. Let's keep the legs glued together for now, and we'll just take little itty bitty wobbles side to side. If you want to flex your feet, neat. Pointing, neat. I'm just letting my feet kind of fall however. Just little bitty wobbles. You don't have to go all the way out to the outside of the hip. Nah, not that much work. Cool. From here, we're going to bring legs back straight up to the ceiling, and you'll see my ankles are over my knees, are over my hips. That's not going to help, so bring them out a little further than you think they need to go. My left leg is going to stay straight up. My straight right leg is going to start to descend. We're going to come down as far as we can without letting the heel rest. 9 times out of 10, you can go lower than you think. So if you need to tap that floor and then bring it up, neat. So I'm trying to keep my left leg as straight up as I can. And I'm looking for this big stretch kind of from oblique above my hip crease, down across the top of the right side of my pelvis. That's delightful. Make sure if your low belly feels like it's sinking, that's all right. Breathe into it. I want you to bend that right knee to protect the back as we come back up to neutral. Again, we're going to stay at neutral just for a little bit. Working into the left leg, Bosco. You're going to keep that right leg up to the ceiling. Straight left leg slowly begins to come down. Again, below the roller, not resting on the floor. If you need to tap the floor and then bring it up, cool. We don't want this to be a struggle though. We don't want this to turn into any core work. We're looking for that delightful stretchy feeling. Again, above the left hip point, down the obliques, down top of the hip flexor-ish. We'll bend into the left knee to bring legs back up. Oh, thanks, dude. From here, bend both of your knees, and then we're going to let the legs fall apart just a little bit. So from here, finding some pelvic tilts. And watching your knees is the best way to find it. So lower the knees towards your tummy, and then we're pushing them away just a little bit. You're not going to create this weird arch in your back. We're just looking for the pelvis
the front to tip down, and those hip points then travel towards your tummy. Back and forth, 3-4 times. Good, let's meet up at neutral, guiding those knees together. Feet are coming down nice and slow. Lift your hips. We're sliding that foam roller out of the way. Roll your back down, turn your tailbone to your heels, and very slowly, one knee at a time, we're bringing them in. Little wobbles side to side. And let's rock and roll our way up to seated. Woo. All right. Moving downward. Oh no. Coming to everybody's love-hate relationship with rolling our legs. So before we start, I have two super important rules about rolling legs. One is our 3-finger distance rule. The middle 3 fingers of your hand, that distance above your patella, all the way around, below that kneecap, all the way around. That is our neutral zone. We don't roll knees in any of my classes. Knees are a little unstable and wobbly, and there's no need to stress them. The other one involves the IT band, and I'll explain that as we get to that portion. So let's start tops of the thighs, those quads. So I want you to come to standing knees. That's what we call it in yoga. And what you're going to do is, let's see, you're going to push your roller all the way up against these legs. As you come over the roller into a plank shape, keep it pinned to your legs. Rude. And then we're coming into our plank shape. Where your roller is now is that 3-finger distance. Don't let it go any lower. And then up and down we go. Woohoo! Depending on your workouts up to this point, this could be the most intense feeling you're experiencing on your legs. So my pain versus discomfort rule, where we don't want pain and discomfort is okay, it kind of shifts a little when we're working with legs. Simply because our legs are usually extremely tired. So if the sensation you're feeling becomes too intense, give yourself a break. We don't want to overroll, and this is not a trial by fire. Take your time. So if this is where you want to pause, feel free, just don't go near those knees. We're still going to spend some time on the tops of the legs, those quads. If you need a little more activation, a little more intensity, bend into your knees. That's going to activate your quads a little bit. It's going to ask a little more of them. And I like to scissor my legs back and forth. And because I like doing things on both sides, I'm going to take left ankle on top one time, followed by the right. Editor's note, if you want to roll all the way up into your hip creases, feel free. I hate it. I'm never going to do it, but I will always offer it because there's going to be someone who likes it a lot. Whew, that's a lot right there. If you want to pause, keep going, neat. Otherwise, I'm moving on. So, shins. You may or may not have ever thought about or done rolling on your shins. So we are adhering to our 3-finger distance. As we're rolling up and down, you can go over your ankle. You can go all the way onto the top of your foot if you like. This depends on your comfortability, what you like. So let's build this nice and slow. We're going to go one leg at a time today. So I'm going to roll my right shin first, which means my foam roller is all the way to the right with just enough under my leg to fit my shin. So I'm going to bring this right shin down, measuring my 3-finger distance. Now my left knee is going to be down, and I'm curling my toes under to give myself a little more control. Do start out fairly curled up into a little bitty ball. And from here, we'll start to walk it forward and walk it back. Now, the higher up you are, the less intense. Similarly, the more you dump your weight down onto that leg, the more intense it will be. We'll do these together.
just because sometimes people will go a little too long. So this might be a super weird, i.e. super intense sensation for you. It's all right to skip it. I will not be offended because I will have no idea. Take your time. You know, if you find a place that you're like, oh, maybe I should hang there, cool. Just don't overdo it. We don't want to bruise anything, right? So here we go, up and down, up and down. You can absolutely roll to the side a little bit when we're down on shins. Lower parts of the legs don't have any of those big fascial ropes like I T-band, so we're okay rolling side to side, totally fine. That is exactly enough of that. So we're gonna move over to the left. Again, my foam roller is to my left side of my body with just enough underneath. So when I measure that 3-finger distance and plop my shin down, we're not in the way. My right knee is down, my right toes are curled. I'm starting in a little bitty ball, and up and down we go. So if you want a little more intensity on one side but not the other, it's all right. We are kind of inherently asymmetrical. One side is always going to take a little more use than the other. We might rely on one side if the other is in some state of healing. It's all right. No big deal. All is well, right? Just don't go to the point where you feel like you're in one of the trials of Hercules. No, that's not going to work. We'll be here for a little while longer. Just breathe. Or feel free to be done. It's all good. Cool. Let us take that roller out from under shins. We're going to start traveling up backs of the legs all the way through our glutes. So what we'll do here, we're going to come onto bums. I got my knees way in. I'm starting on the heels. I'm just extending and coming back. You're not going to feel a whole lot, if anything, on the backs of your ankles, and this is a good thing. That is where Achilles is. A lot of people have tension in Achilles or even some injuries. If you are injured, please skip this part. All we're doing here really is encouraging blood flow down to feet. So that's finished. We're going to move foam roller up to the meaty part of those calves. And here we go. So before you say, April, can I lift my hips? Let's try this progression very first. First of all, try up and down with a little downward pressure from your legs. Okay? If that's not working, try side to side. Whoa! You will definitely find knots you did not know were there. That's where I always find them. As soon as I go side to side, it's like, yep, there they be. All right, now if you're thinking, April, needs more, please, before you lift your hips, let's try crossing the legs. Just as we can use one hand on the opposite forearm, we can use one leg on the opposite calf. And if you're really like, no, I want to lift my hips, Godspeed. Why not? Do remember, we've got this 3-finger distance. You don't want to push this kneecap up artificially. It's gross. And dislocated knees, oh my, no, not great. So take your time. We're just going to roll around. But do remember, if we're finding knots that are just like, I'm never letting go, honor that for today. Come back to it tomorrow. It's all good. Let's take a little longer here. I'm a big fan of wiggling, so that's what that is. Okay, now we're going to work into hamstrings up through glutes. Measure that 3-finger distance, please, my loves. Now, I have a very sad story to tell. I suffer from this weird affliction called T-Rex arms. When I'm trying to work my hamstrings and I put my hands down and I want to lift my hips, exactly nothing happens. You can, if this is the case for you, you have blocks or books or whatever. I happen to have a stair step close. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lean forward a little bit
and lift my hips, and up and down we go. As you're rolling into hamstrings, backs of the thighs, absolutely, you can internally rotate, you can externally rotate. Please don't roll onto IT band. And now we'll talk about that rule of mine. So you keep rolling, I'm a yap at you. Your IT band starts in your hip. It's running down your jean seam and it inserts into your knee. IT band is this big band of fascia. I call them fascial ropes because they're roundish, they're fibrous. It's these little fingers that hold it together. So if you are a runner, if you do super duper heavy lifting, you keep rolling, then you're going to end up with what's called micro tears. So these little fingers have been separated just a little bit. There's your inflammation because lactic acid is then able to get in and make them angry. So if we have a very fibrous thing and we push down on it with these little micro tears, what happens? They become macro tears and they get really angry. If we put this in terms of food, which is how I think, foam rollers are like rolling pins. You keep rolling, go up into those glutes to your sacrum. Foam rollers are made for muscle, myofascia. Myo is muscle. The fascia in your muscles are very small, very not dense. Match made in heaven, like rolling pin to cookie dough. It works. So if you think of IT band as a carrot, if you take a rolling pin to a carrot, you get sad carrotness that's scooshed everywhere. So we'll do something else. It's amazing. She says with evil laughter. No. So I'm up in my glutes. I'm rocking a little bit side to side. It's just, a little bit of work. This might be another place where you find those knots you didn't know you had. And if you're wondering, I don't really like leaning on my knuckles like this, but it's what will work for this for me. All right, let us be done with those glutes. We're gonna do one more thing before we move on to IT band. So what I'd like you to do, we're gonna bring our foam roller, again, I've got a wide-ish leg, and I'm gonna bring my foam roller in front of me. This is a highly, highly, highly modified pigeon shape. So we're working into the outside of the hip. What I'd like you to do, we're gonna take this right leg, I'm gonna pick it up by the ankle, and I'm crossing it on my foam roller. Now, I am able to comfortably bring my shin parallel to whatever wall is in front of me. If you cannot, please rotate. From here, we're just gonna fold and flop. If you happen to need more lift, take up the foam roller, start stacking blocks or books or what have you. We just want a nice easy flop. It's okay here to round. I'm not bothered by that. If you start feeling kind of tired pulling, then come back up and straighten out your back. No big deal, right? We're just gonna hold here. I always rest my hands on my legs because I really don't know what else to do with them. So I'll shut up for a minute and let's just hang. Coming on up, I want you to lift your leg by your ankle, bringing it out to the side, bouncy knees, floppy fish feet. Maybe we're wiggling around. All right, left leg. So again, I'm holding it by my ankle, it's pretty steady. I'm crossing my leg in front of me, maybe higher, maybe I'm angling it, definitely gonna flop. And by the way, if it is painful, if it's horrible to put your leg on something, keep it on the floor. Modifications are wisdom, not weakness. And let's fold.
Coming on up, you're gonna hold on to that ankle, take your leg out, bouncy knee, floppy fish feet. Straighten everything out. Whew. All right, foam roller is gonna come off to the side for now. Grab your towel, your yoga strap, your something that does not stretch. Working into IT band, warning, this does not feel good. This is going to border on pain. Do the best you can, okay? So we're gonna turn to the side. I'm rolling back onto my back. I'm gonna bring my left knee in, and I'm putting my left foot in whatever it is I have that does not stretch. I'm gonna bring my leg up. Now you see, I have a pretty big bend in my knee. We don't want to lock our legs here. My ankle is in line with my hip. This is hamstring, my loves. We're working IT band. So very first, we're gonna hold on to whatever we've got our foot in, and I'm pulling down, and my hands are pulling directly down to my hip creases, right? You can, by the way, extend this leg, but it's not going to make a whole bunch of difference. So we're pulling straight down. If you've got your knee locked out and you're feeling stretching in the back of your knee, please bend it. We don't want pressure there. So, there we go. From here, flex your foot a whole lot. We want to imagine our toes are going to pull back and touch the shin. You're pressing your heel up. We're pulling down. And you might be saying already, this is awful. This is focus on the dog. From here, I want you to keep holding both sides of your whatever. Dude. And we're going to roll more weight down into left hip. Okay? So I'm flexing, I'm pulling down, I'm pressing more weight into my left hip, and now I'm taking my left leg to the right 4 tiny inches. Boop. Oh, there it is. You want to be feeling it on the outside of your leg. We don't want it in the back of the knee. So flex, flex, heel high, press that left hip down. Ooh, breathe. This is horrible, I know, but we've only got about 3 more breaths. You can do it. Rock your left hip down, flex your foot, pull down towards your hip. 1 more inhale. Let it go. Oh my goodness. Horrible. But you know what? I love you so much. I will go ahead and do the right leg with you. I'm very magnanimous. So we're grabbing onto our thing that does not stretch. I'm going to take it around that right foot, and we're extending. It will benefit you in the long run, really, to bend your knee. Remember, we're not worried about hamstrings here. We want to get the outside of the leg. So my ankle is over my hip. I'm pulling down toward my hip points. Flex your foot, bring those toes down towards your shin, press your heel to the ceiling. Pull, press, flex. Okay? This is a lot, I know. Press your right hip down. I don't know if you could see that, but I'm actually rocking that right hip to the right a little more. Press, flex, pull down. Here's the best part. Right leg to your left, 4 tiny inches. Pull, flex, press, pull, press that right hip down. Breathe, 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 breathe. You've got this. Press the right hip down. Flex, flex, pull your hands to your hips. Good, 1 more inhale. And let it go. Oh my gracious. Wiggle, shimmy, breathe, move. Focus on my happy little dog. He's so helpful. Aren't you glad he's here? I do. Whew. All right, my darlings. Rock and roll your way up to seated. So there's the biggest part of what we're working into, head to toe basically. From here, I'm going to let you recuperate however you need. One of my favorite shapes is to come back onto my back
I'm gonna keep my knees together. I'm gonna take my feet nice and wide. I'm gonna let my hands rest on my tummy and I'm just gonna hang here. Be sure to take time to relax. We've just spent a whole lot of time in that sympathetic nervous system, that flight part. Remember, sympathetic nervous system has no sympathy for you. So we want to bring everything back to that comfy, kind of relaxed state. Let everything soften. Drop your shoulders. Open your mouth really wide. And just sink for a little while. Nice deep inhale. Let it go. Start to find little wiggles, little circles. Just rocking your head side to side. Bring your knees into your chest for a gentle little hug, little wobble. Rolling to one side or the other, use your forearm to help press you up. Sit nice and tall, inhale, shoulders up and back and down they go. Thank you for joining me. This has been Myofascial Release, foam rolling, stretching, Bosco. If you enjoyed yourself, maybe send a few bucks my way. Have a beautiful day. Y'all are amazing.